I got it for 3 reasons. Right time, right place, and right
Is
God.
that fake chest hair?
Yes, it is fake chest hair. I did it so you could see the Star of David a little better.
That's really funny.
This is where the troops go in the back right there.
As most of my guests know, I'm very big into the milestones, and we've reached a very big one today. And in addition to that, we also hit a crossroads of giving my introductions to my guests, because I have been told on 3 occasions that after I've given my introduction, that Cody, that was the best introduction I've ever had for a podcast episode. And recently, I have to share something that grinds my gears to a halt when I hear this, because the guests that I have had on, or that I'm having on now, I did my homework. I listened to a handful of podcasts that he was on, and all of them except for one were on American podcasts, American military podcasts. The United States of America was repping itself. And unfortunately, we did a terrible job of introducing the guests that I have on. You mean to tell me that some of these military vets who had on Tim on their shows, you mean to tell me that some of them make $4,000 a month from VA disability? They have good jobs. They are quote unquote professionals at what they do, but they don't even have the courtesy to have proper audio, not have a good camera. Tim, let me know if I'm wrong here. Almost every show that I watched of you, this is how the guest introduced someone. This is how they introduced you, Tim. It's always like, welcome to the Boring Name Military Podcast. My name is uncharismatic host John Doe. Please welcome my guest, Tim Thomas. That sounds, and they're not, and let me be clear about this, Tim, they're not introducing you that way because you are an exceptional guest. I've listened to the stories you have. I've listened to your personality. You deserve much better than that. And I want people to know this when I'm going to call out those. If any of you are podcasters, military podcasters, I am better than you. And if you host Tim Thomas and you gave him not an introduction at all, go kick rocks, you piece of shit. No, I don't want to swear too early yet. But with that said, we are breaking barriers, breaking boundaries at 4 Years a Slave, because for the first time ever, we are not having on an American guest. The United States is known for holding Western civilization, being the forefront, the vanguard of it. But we have to give credit to our allies every now and then. We have to understand that we don't do it alone. And I will say Australia is probably the best country that has been at the forefront, doing their best to help us out. I didn't really have that planned, but here's another funny thing. Tim, just because people have not given you the introduction they deserve, I'm saving this for you. I try to do an in-person episode with any of my guests. If I ever come to Australia, I want you to know I will give you an in-person show. I owe that to you. I owe that to anybody that I try to have on the show. But regardless, this man, some people talk about, people think that the military makes you a good fighter. This man is an actual fighter. Well, was a fighter. He fought MMA in the underground days in the 90s. And then after being special forces for Australia. So this man not only is when you think of a wild Australian bushwhacker, he's at the elite tier, the 1% of the 1%. And then he gets out and he helps people with their breath work. The yin and yang, the Robin to our Batman, the Australia to our America. Mr. Tim Thomas, thank you for coming on to 4 Years a Slave.
Cody, it was a pleasure receiving that massive dump of good energy to start with. And I'm sure all the other podcasters after would be very impressed after they got over their urge to punch you in the face.
Well, unfortunately, we are in the entertainment world, Tim, so controversy does sell. If they do want to fight or have beef with me, we'll get all the followers, we'll bring in all the views, and hey, more people can look at your, breath work in bed. We have to think outside the box. We have to have that commander's intent, that bigger picture thinking.
Yeah, I like it. Yep.
I will say though, I was a little concerned because I'm like, I don't know if this intro is going on too long, because that look in Tim's face is like, part of it's like, yeah, this is good, but then some of it's like, all right, we need to hurry this up here, Cody.
Well, you know, in Australia, we kind of know that you Yanks love to, you know, make a lot of energy, go woo, scream and
Yes.
shout. So, you know, whatever works for you, my man. It's all good.
Can I ask a really so before I ask this question, so people are probably going to ask me, Cody, why are you wearing a red Brooklyn jacket for an episode that's featuring an Australian? And that's where you are you are clearly not culturally savvy. I will give forgiveness to the Australians because apparently this film was not funny over there, which kind of broke my heart a little bit. But this comes from a very famous comedy from the early 2000s, Australian-based. Well, American film about Australia. I will give you until the end of the show to figure out where this comes in. But with that said, I was thinking of, in a weird way, Tim, I was thinking of this. If we were to do a patrol in Australia, so you and me are in the fire team. I assume there's 4-man fire teams when you were in the Australian Army. But I'm thinking if you and me are in a fire team, we're in Australia, so I have to include Robert Irwin because Steve's passed away. I will give the floor to you. Who would you have with you in a fire team? Like when you look at back, like just it could be a shout out. It could be like one of the great Aussies of, you know, Anzac Pass or whoever. But
Okay.
I want to give the floor to you. Who would you bring into like our 4-man fire team?
Okay. So in Australia, the military language, we have teams and sections.
Okay.
I'm unfamiliar with the term fire team. Just bring me up to speed on that.
Yeah, so a fire team would be the equivalent of a team. So it would,
Okay.
yeah. So in a platoon, you know, it would just be the 4. You have the rifleman, the automatic gunner, the grenadier,
Okay,
and
right,
then the
right.
team leader. Yeah, we just call them fire.
Okay. Well, without sounding romantic, and you probably won't understand this, but room 10.
Room
Okay, room 10, yeah. So 2004, Australian military start this world first, history first intake of soldiers into the special forces from civilian street into special forces.
Okay.
Now, before this, you had to spend 2 years in a regular infantry battalion to even apply, right? So when this thing kicked off, we were considered civilian queue jumpers. So you can imagine how the military, you know, reacted to us.
Yeah.
And I was the actual oldest age at 30, and everyone said, you're too old. And I'm like, well,
Wow. Okay.
this is the first time I've aged. You know, shouldn't it be me deciding what I can and can't do at 30? So fuck you very much. I'm going to give it a go.
Mm.
Anyway, there was like 70 or 80 guys to start with. And in the end, there was less than 15 that got through. And room 10 was our room. Me, Dave and Mike Vaughan, and a guy called Samuela Taniela Tungufungu Taumoi Piao. He was an Islander. And
Okay.
he had a long name. And myself and those 3 guys, you'd wake up every morning, shaving next to each other.
Mhm.
You'd be going through the worst that the army would throw at you. And these guys kept showing up. And so, you know, no word of a lie, I'd have the Vaughany boys. They weren't related. They just had the last name the same. And this big Islander dude who was super intelligent, but because he'd figured out that most white people just want him to be a happy Islander, so he'd sort of just do the smile and wave, right? But yeah, if I was to have a team with us and you'd feel super safe around, it would be room 10.
Okay. Knowing that, and this also, it definitely makes me want to question it, but knowing that you guys were able to make through something with that high of an attrition rate, automatically, I feel very comfortable with. But if you don't mind me asking, so you were Australian Army Special Forces, but like, what was so like in the US, for example, like each branch will have its own special forces. Like the Army has the Green Berets, they have Delta Force, they have the Rangers, the Marines have MARSOC, and it's like, how does it, like, was it just the Australian SF, or what was it like specifically you did within the special forces?
Okay, so Australian Army SF is divided into two categories: the Commandos, which I was, and they're on the East Coast in Sydney.
Okay.
And then there's the SAS, which is on the West Coast, WA.
Okay.
And in the Navy, they have their equivalent to Special Forces is clearance divers. So they have a hell of a selection process, and sometimes they train with us. Air Force, there was some people calling themselves Special Forces in that area, but it was kind of just an in-joke.
Yeah.
But I hope that answers your question. Yeah, I was in the Army, and the only interesting thing about that is commandos in Australia are from are in the Army, but in the UK they're under the Navy. So when I did a soldier exchange to the UK, I was actually in the Navy for 3 months.
Oh, my camera go out? I'm
just seeing a test pattern.
Yeah, I'm seeing it on my end too. It shows me. That's a little odd. I don't know why that happened. No, I'm recording. It's not live. Yeah, I had an ice pack on just so that way, because sometimes the camera will heat up. So I'm thinking that's it, but we'll see. Like, I think I had to shimmy something. But anyway, you
need an ice pack on your camera.
Yeah, because for the camera, because like it'll get hot. Like if I go for about an hour or so. So sometimes I'll just put an ice pack on it so that way it'll keep.
Okay.
Am I more? I know I'm a Florida man, but like, am I more bushwhacker than you? I don't know. Well, what is a bushwhacker exactly? I don't want to use that term. I don't know. I don't want to throw around lingo that could be fighting words secretly or something like that.
Well,
I don't want to
bushwhacker is probably a term from maybe 50 years ago in Australia, but it's sort of like someone who's lived rural and probably is a little bit mentally challenged.
Oh, like a hillbilly for us or something.
Yeah, you're like a hillbilly. They can fix a car. They can get a car out of a bog. You know, they're your mate when you need something. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess in some ways I'm a bushwhacker. I'm able to figure out to put ice on the camera, and well, I don't know if a bushwhacker's ever seen a camera, but nonetheless. But anyway, commandos and actual military. So. You where did we break off before the camera went off? I don't even remember.
You just asked about this different areas of service and the special forces within them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess just to more or less ask, like, what would so being a commando, like in the Australian SF, like what was, if you had to like dumb it down, like what is a commando? What is the like what did you do exactly?
So we can seize and hold ground in areas that most people can't, and we can do it en masse. So SAS, they have like a small team of, we call them chicken stranglers. They'll go in, take out, a select target, then they'll bug out. We can go in via various different insertion skills, land, air, sea, and we can do it en masse. So that's where the collective's level of skill needs to be across the board. And if you've got one person that's, not working, then it impacts the many. So really the first year and a half of training was just having everybody having all their shit in one sock, as the saying goes in the Australian Army. You've got to have your shit in one sock. I mean, you've got to have everyone organized and at a certain level. And the selection course, gets rid of people that can't do that. Yeah.
I mean, they're obviously going to be very selective, or make sure that people are competent. I guess would be one word to use it. But this also made me thinking too. You said that when you went in, you were about 30 years old, right?
Correct. It was the oldest allowable age for the new scheme they started, the direct recruiting into special forces. Yeah.
So from what I've noticed, and I would assume this would fit pretty generally across the board, but like when I enlisted, you'll have like your handful of guys that were 24, 25, sometimes 28 when they enlisted. And I noticed almost always across the board, you never had that much immaturity from them. You didn't really have to tell them, to do things twice. And obviously, if you're going SF, like you just naturally, I would assume everybody's going to have more of a maturity level. But since you were older, already going in with like a group of guys like that, like were you ahead of the pack, or like just what was that dynamic, at least that you felt when you came in that age?
Sure. So physically I was tough You know, I grew up in the 70s, getting beaten up at school. You wouldn't even tell your mum and dad. You know, it was just a Tuesday.
Yeah.
So the physical side of thing wasn't a problem. My main problem was because I was a bit of a free spirit. It took me a long time to understand military culture and how they think. So I was the guy that was always getting punishments from the corporals, you know, getting your Friday, Saturday nights taken off your, we call it RAPs, restriction of privileges, where you have to, you know, parade every half an hour with all your gear and present it. It's just what they call a dick drag. And so I was the guy that was always getting in trouble. And yeah, I was getting charged with offenses and all this, just really small shit, right? So and because I had an inquiring mind, I would always ask questions. So I was the guy that would ask questions in a group meeting, which didn't go down well, because the questions I asked made the people in charge have to display their knowledge of the subject matter. And you don't want to make people in charge look stupid. Mm-hmm. So to be the guy that does that, I didn't know I was putting a big target on my head. So, you know, if my shoelaces were untied, that's a chargeable offense, you know. So there was, you know, a certain physical resilience, and there wasn't a maturity there, but I was also possibly a bit stuck in my ways as well.
Yeah. I know the kind of character, if you want to call it that like you're talking about, but in a sense, you know, you maybe not even deliberately, but you did push the boundary a little bit. You weren't exactly one to just like, you know, fit into the box, you know, per se, or to be I don't even want to say you're a rebel, but you're certainly not like just somebody who just goes with the flow of things. I guess would that be right?
No, look, and that showed up very early, like when the corporals in boot camp were doing shit that I just completely disagreed with, and that wasn't necessary. They'd make, you know, racist jokes, religious jokes, you know, and I'm like, man, half these guys signed in on the Bible. That's in Australia. You can swear in on the Bible if you choose to. Okay. And then I'm like, okay, well, that's just the way it is. But then at the end, when we're filling out these forms at the end of basic training, I wrote down, you know, these corporals were saying these particular jokes, and these guys got in big trouble, right? Because it was not the line that they were supposed to take. And I learned that when a junior ranking person creates some sort of uncomfortableness for the senior ranking person, you know, shit rolls downhill. So yeah, that was that. But the thing was, after I said those things and spoke up, there was a whole new set of training get brought into as I heard through the grapevine. After that incident, all these extra training modules were you know, brought in just for you know, corporals can be tough as they want, but they can't be fuckwits. Yeah.
Okay. So did that I obviously assume from like senior to like junior, that made it pretty difficult. But when you were with your, I guess like when you were with your peers, was it a hard time trying to fit in? Because obviously I assume when you make yourself a target, now you're sticking out for like to everybody. But did you have like a hard time fitting in with
my peers that knew me were closer than brothers, you know? Mm-hmm. But I will say this, I discovered that in the Special Forces, it's a very special dynamic. And in most human society, you have men and women, you have older and younger, you have, you know, extroverted and introverted, you have talkers, you have listeners, you have this sort of balanced equation that kind of balance out. But in the Special Forces, it was just dudes, it was just alpha personality types, and not all of them were secure. Okay. And the insecure personality types needed, because they're all alphas, and to balance it out, you needed the omega, like the dominant wolf needs a submissive wolf, the submissive wolf that creates play, the dominant wolf that, you know, so there's this interaction, right? But in lieu of any sort of submissiveness in a group, they make someone. So they go, oh, that that fucker does this, 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 and they'll bag each other out. They're like a bunch of old women, some of the insecure ones, right? And I actually made it very easy for people that didn't know me to bag me out, because I wasn't a guy that went out in the piss and drank a lot. I had a family. I was starting a family. That's why I joined the military, because the martial arts, it was great, but it wasn't paying the bills. I couldn't get above minimum wage. And then when this, special forces scheme came in, I'm like, well, that's a set of requirements for job entry that I actually have. I don't have paper. I've got my, year 12 English, but I don't have all these other bits of paper to say that I can be earning above minimum wage. And I thought, well, here's a chance to provide for my family and do something I think I'd enjoy.
Yeah. That was another thing I wanted to ask too. What ultimately, because especially, I assume it varies per person, especially if they join it older, but why go that career path, especially, doing SF at that age, or just, what was the story or reasoning behind Tim Thomas, going the military route?
Well, I tried to get in at 19, but recruiting stuffed me around so much. I'm like, they're so disorganized, and I'm not even in there yet. What's it going to be like when it's in there? But then at 30, they had this scheme. It was of interest to me, and I did need to get off minimum wage to give my family the life that I wanted them to have. So combination of, well, I've got this physical skill set that the world I currently live in doesn't really value. There's not too many jobs out there that need you to run a distance in a certain time, carry a certain thing, do so many push-ups and chin-ups. And that was my bag for the last, 5 years before, I was in my, before I was serving in the army. So, yeah. And it was funny. The very first week of our boot camp, I get this letter back when there was letters.
Yeah.
From my then wife. I call her my then wife, not my ex-wife. And she said, I'm pregnant. Congratulations, And I did the math, and I'm like, shit. She's going to be given, not when she got pregnant, but when she's going to give birth, right?
Okay, all right, thankfully.
And I did the math on when she's going to give birth, and I'm like, yeah, that's going to be on selection. So we were, training our asses off to get a chance to be on Special Forces selection.
Yeah.
And they told me when I was about to start selection in September that year that this is selection. You can see your wife being born, or you can do selection. You can't do both. So, selection's hard enough. In Australia, Commando selection is 28 days. I know the Navy SEAL has a hell week. We got a hell month, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Quantity has a certain quality of its own. And so I couldn't see it from my own perspective, Cody. I had to go, well, what does that kid actually want? How would he see it from his perspective? Does he need me there at the birth, or does he need a dad with a job?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that kid needs a dad with a job, and that's what he's going to get. I got my then wife all the support she needs, flew family in, and with her blessing, she was good about it. I went off and did it.
What is, I imagine it's probably similar, but what is Australian Army boot camp like? Like, I'm curious. I don't know if why I'm expecting like Australian like a spin on it, but like, what was just the boot camp experience like? I mean, obviously you're in good physical condition, so I assume it was kind of not a cakewalk, but you didn't have too much trouble.
It wasn't the physical. Look, boot camp in Australia is basically just screening out anyone with injuries. Okay. Because in Australia, if you do injure yourself in the military, they do look after you, right? So boot camp was, anyone that's half fit would lose fitness there. But what it did do is introduce you to the regimented, headspace. So your socks have to be turned this way, up this way. Your, pajamas have to be ironed. You need a bayonet length between your pillow and your down sheet. all these sorts of, things that sort of took away the rough edges, so you could act as a collective. I guess the best metaphor I use is, if you look outside of someone's house, you see a mailbox, and mailboxes come in all different shapes and sizes. And if you had a bunch of them in a room, then it would take up a lot of space. But those post office boxes that are just squares and they're stacked in to a room, you can fit thousands in a room, right? Well, that's what the regimentation process is. It gets you, knocks off your rough edges, allows you to sit in tight with other people so you can act en masse.
I actually like that. No one's ever really put it. I mean, like they'll have spins similar, but I actually like that. That's a much more smoother comparison, because when you think about what the military is, I mean, like the whole premise of it is like unity and, tearing, not completely eliminating your individualism, but it's like the idea of a uniform because it has unity. The idea of, everybody has to have the same regulation haircut, the same regulation rank, or, whatever it is. I love I don't know. That's probably the best example I've heard to articulate that.
Well, thanks, Cody. I think people can overrate individuality. Okay.
Yes.
Because if you could actually, the way humans work, it's incredible. When we are actually connected, it's like you don't even know your name or their names. You're just acting as this hive. Okay. And there's this invisible connection that happens when you're in those moments that you cannot get if you tried to stay like, the color of my hair defines me, So there is access to some, I would call, quite divine experiences when you can have 7, 14, 100 guys acting as one cohesive force.
Yeah.
That would be something that would be very hard to replicate outside the military.
Yeah, especially, and I like how you brought it up, because culturally too, and it's because you're starting to even, I don't know how it is in the landscape with Australia, but like even in politics, like when you hear commentators, there's a lot of, because I know the United States, we're probably known for being like very individualistic. It's like, we're we tout gun rights, we have absolute freedom of speech. And it's like, you're starting to see a lot of pushback against that, because you're starting to see how, like you said, being an individual it's kind of overrated. Just because, especially as like a group or a cohesion, you'd be amazed at like how much, like if, like people are working, I don't want to promote like the mob mentality, but like when people actually have some direction as a group, you'd be amazed at like how much they can accomplish that one person can't. It's like the effectiveness multiplies instead of adding. Yeah.
Well, it's strange you should say that, Cody, because for me, that group cohesion, powerful connections outside of yourself, actually starts with individual choices. And I believe everybody's got a unique energy signature about them. And I ask people to consider that your energy is like money. How you invest, it's how you get it back. Yeah. And you've got a unique energy signature that if you do certain things, that gives you a good return. You're in abundance, right? Mm-hmm. And there comes a point where you say, I'm good, but what about the people around me? How do I work in with them?
Yeah.
So to me, it's a bit of a two-edged sword. Yes, you need to make the individual choices to make you the person you're supposed to be, because I put it to you, when Cody's the person he's supposed to be, he naturally wants to connect and make the world a better place, make people around him better. There's generosity, there's gratitude. And these are all choices we make as individuals. But ultimately, it's only half the connection if you're only connecting inside yourself. What I had to go to Afghanistan to realize is that if the guys around me are cooked, I'm cooked too. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter how awesome I am. If the guys around me are cooked, I'm cooked. So what can I do to fill them up? What can I do to make them cohesive? Because I had to be in a battle space to realize, what? Who did I want around me when good times turn bad? Mm-hmm. Did I want fatigued, drained guys, or do I want guys who are rested and connected, ready to kick ass?
Yeah.
And so now that's kind of in my DNA. And, the question I always ask is, firstly, how do I connect powerfully to myself? And then secondly, how do we connect powerfully with others? Because that's, to me, the juice in life. You get all the love, peace, joy when we connect to others on the back of the thing that makes us, super powerful.
Yeah, it's almost like if I could add to that, you got people obviously want to make themselves competent, they want to make themselves socially acceptable, but at a certain point, we begin to look toward. I don't know. I don't know what the quote would go, but there's almost like this idea of how even if you replace God, humans are going to worship other things. There's almost this idea that people we have to serve something bigger than ourselves. And obviously, there are some more nefarious things that we try to or more not nefarious, but more like people will serve money, or they'll serve, like they'll think women can make them happy, or, like other things like that. Or, like in the military, that problem was solved for us because we had buddies that we had to take care of. We had an institution, we had a nation, we had a set of ideals. And I don't want to go, it got really philosophical very fast for this episode. I like it, but I don't know. Just to make my rant here short, the human being naturally wants to serve something bigger than itself and naturally wants to help other people
in the right energetic state. Because I put it to you, Cody, there's the Cody that gets and let's make it really simple. There's a Cody that gets a really good night's sleep and he wakes up feeling, yeah, man, I'm going to invest wisely. I'm going to win the first 5 minutes of the day. But then there's the Cody that doesn't get a good night's sleep. Fuck me, another day. God damn. And your head's already, your mind is already ahead of your body, thinking about all the shit you got to do, and fuck those guys. This is where it's one thing to have a lofty ideal. It's another thing to create the on-ramp. Okay. Because everyone knows what they're supposed to do. I call it the energetic superhighway, but we've got to build an on-ramp that meets us where we are to get to us to the life that we want to live. And this sort of dovetails nicely. This is the work I've been doing for the last 10 or 15 years, helping, veterans and first responders go from where they are to the life they really want to have.
Yeah, and we can talk about that since it'll segue pretty good, because one of the and part of me is actually really interested in it too, because some of the fighters that I try to rope, like Israel Adesanya, I know he's been on the decline recently, but when he got to his peak, he said that ironically breathwork was a huge factor that made him a better athlete. And I think a lot, it's almost like in the sense of sleep, perhaps, where the mass of the health community is just now starting to understand that maybe this isn't something that we should overlook. We should probably treat it very seriously as a big part of our day, almost like when people eat or picking a career, whatever. But breathwork, I started to look a little more into it when I was researching you, but they go very hand in hand. But I'll let you, since you're the expert on it, so you can probably articulate it better than I can.
Well, we spoke about this. The best days of our lives is when we felt enormously connected to the humans and things around us, right? And we do that very naturally. But what we seem to be quite blind to is the blockages that get in the way of those connections. Okay, and let's talk about a really simple blockage. We mentioned it earlier. You getting a poor night's sleep. Fatigue is a massive blockage between you and others. And there's a reason why in Afghanistan, we used to weaponize sleep. We used to deliberately attack the enemy's sleep because we knew if we could take it out for 3 nights, it would mess them up better than a bullet. Mm-hmm. Right. And then when I come home to this free country, it's like our sleep was under attack, but there's no clear enemy. Yeah. And without going sort of too conspiracy theory, I'm like, look, if you had 2 groups of people, one was sleeping really well and one wasn't.
Not to cut you off, Tim, but if you want to, you're very more than welcome to do it if you wish.
Sure. So the conspiracy theory is our sleep seems to be getting attacked in the Western world, but we live in a consumer society, right? What's the goal of a consumer society? For us to consume. So who would consume more crap and believe crap? The group of 1 million people that were sleeping really well, knew their value, could invest in their value, looked after each other, and all the group of people that wasn't sleeping really well, didn't know their value, shut up until I've had a coffee, resources are limited, I've got to screw the guy over next to me before he screws me over. Okay. So all these things on the back of fatigue stop a person living the life they are sort of meant to live. And the danger right now is everybody's trying to wring the life out of the daytime hours, right? Grind harder, do this, but no one's paying attention to the soil from which everything grows. Okay. Sleep is the soil from which everything grows. It's unseen though. And we're a very visual society. If we don't see it, it's not real. So we've been able to, you know, and in our fatigue states, I think we've often listened to the wrong people. Because, you know, there are some people that can grind in, grind out 7 days a week, 18 hours a day, but that might not be you. And I mean, essentially what I've been doing for over 15 years is just, I realized that this human nervous system actually has an off switch, and we've all got it, but nobody teaches us where it is.
And so what, so I guess with the, like, how did you get involved? Because I don't even know if I figured it out myself, but like, at what point did you start to like my thoughts here, at what point did you start like breath work in bed, or when did you start to transition? Because this was like after you got out of SF, right? Like this was like post-military career, you started to transition to this.
Yeah, so I discovered this in the dirt of Afghanistan. I was fatigued as hell, beyond fatigue. Like, we're trained, you select out people that can go without sleeping and work, you know, umpteen hours a day. And but outside the war in Afghanistan, there's a whole other level of fatigue. You know, you've lost your mates, you've seen crazy shit happen. And I was so fucked. I'm like, what's the point? Like, I got 2 cents worth of energy. I'm going to die out here. But then it's like this question came to me saying, well, you've only got 2 cents worth of energy. You better invest that wisely. And no one showed me this. All right. It might have something to do with, you know, when you're taking a sight picture, they get you to breathe in deep, let it out slowly.
Yeah.
Okay. And then take up the first trigger pressure. So without any prompting, I focused on my left thumb, and instead of just trying to sleep when I was, you know, when you got horizontal in the dirt, I would focus on my left thumb. I'd picture a little pinprick at the top of my thumb, and I would snort through my nose, and like I was breathing down my thumb, and that felt really good. And eventually my thumb turned into white light in my mind's eye. And I'm like, right. And then I pulled it down my thumb, down my finger, and then I went to sleep, and that 2 cents turned into $2. So I didn't know what was going on, but I could see a good return. And so the next night I invested $2 in, you know, my thumb, finger, index, ring, pinky. And then I fell asleep. $2 turned into 20. And I just kept on massaging this equation in that golden window before going into sleep, and good things kept happening. And there came a point where I was good for me, but I realized, yeah, if the guys around me are cooked, I'm cooked too. So what can I do to feed into them?
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was breath work. It was just something that worked. I didn't know, I couldn't show it to anybody.
Yeah.
But then when I got out and I heard of a guy called Wim Hof, and I, you know, found out breath work was a thing. But getting divorced was when I really saw the power of it. So when I'd lost everything, house, home, regular access to kids, sleeping on the couch, my, you know, mum and dad's place.
Yeah.
You can bet at 2 a.m. my head was pretty unshoveled, and I was about to get up, do drugs, alcohol, self-harm. But the irony here, Cody, was I knew that if I breathed a certain way, I would change my state. I would get the peace that I was looking for. But this state that was in my head had me so locked down. I knew what to do, but I couldn't do it. And it was at that point, like I said, I got up, I was about to do all this stuff, but I look at my left thumb again. I said, Tim, you can take one breath, take one fucking breath. And I drove it into my chest and went, shit, this is working. Take two. And I drove 2 fingers in, second breath, third breath, get to 5, finger after finger, breath after breath. And here's where it got real. Somewhere between breath 15 and 25, all that shit in my head got kicked out. The rest of my brain came online and said, Tim, this is working. Don't fucking stop.
Like a natural antidepressant, you could say.
Well, it's not like meditation is thoughts controlling thoughts. Breath work is a chemical override. It's like going to the side of your house and pulling a fuse box out. So to me, it's the quickest way to go from your fight or flight, your amygdala, into your prefrontal cortex, your executive function. And you can see things in perspective when you're in your executive function. But I noticed that yes, breath work, but it does need to be guided, because when we need it the most, we often don't want to do it. So to have that little play button there. So I started making these stupid ass recordings in my own voice. Hey Tim, breathe in, breathe out. And if it's stupid and it works, it ain't stupid, right? So
Yeah.
So that's sort of where it all came from. The something I discovered that when I had nothing in the dirt of Afghanistan, I couldn't go down the pub and relax and have a beer, or get any pharmaceutical stuff. It worked, and then it worked through the divorce. And I thought, well, if it's how many other people out there are getting up at 2 a.m. and struggling? So I started, doing workshops, and they really work. But I got this email from a Louis Colonel after doing a workshop on an army base. And after I got it, I realized I was failing, because everything I do, Cody, has to be, military loves their acronyms, P's. 3 P's. So I call it my P test, right? It's got to be powerful, positive, and permanent. So permanency is important to me, because if you say you care about somebody, you got to care about them tomorrow, the next week, the next year. And if you're going to do that, you can't connect them to you. You've got to connect them to something powerful you've connected to. And so this Louis Colonel said, I had corporals and sergeants coming up to me saying it was the best good night's sleep, the first good night's sleep they had in 3 years, up to 5 years. He said it was good when you're there, but what have you got when you're not there? And I'm like, shit, I've just failed my P test. So I withdrew from public life for about 2 years, spent about 50 grand, created Breathwork in bed. And now it's a globally accessible, online tool that helps people go to sleep, helps people get out of bed. The 2 times a lot of people struggle.
Now, I don't want to spoil something, but I actually did try it, because I take pride in doing homework for my guest people. All right. I am that guy. I even bought his book. Actually, well, this actually isn't your book. This was another thing I wanted to bring up after the I asked the breathwork in bed part, but so the breathwork in bed, because I listened to one of them, but like, do they have actually, like, is there drills in it? Like, it's not just the same line of like breath routine. You know what I mean? Like, are there some where it's more fast, more slow? Like, does it change up a little bit?
Yeah. So you've got a whole buffet of breath to turn your bed into a cloud going to sleep. And that's a specific kind of breath. But the one in the morning is very different, because you want to turn your bed into a trampoline. You want to remove that stuck energy.
Yeah.
So did you do any morning ones?
I only did the nighttime one. I had a bad thought with it, just because I think it was the ocean breeze one or something. It was an ocean one, and it was like, breathe in. It was one of the ones where it was very slow, trying to get me to sleep. But I followed the routine. Like, I am deeply asleep. I think that was it. Yeah. I kept doing that, and I was thinking to myself, like, man, you ever like repeat a word so much, like it almost sounds funny to you?
Yeah.
My hyper mind was starting to, like, I was still doing the breathing, but I kept like saying deeply asleep, like really funny to me. I kept getting in the rhythm of saying that. But shameless plug though, where can we'll plug it in after too, but where can people find? I assume it's just mainly on Google Play Store.
Anyone who wants to improve their sleep tonight, just look up Breathwork, one word, in bed, and it's really, really simple. All you have to do is tell it when you want to sleep, when you want to wake up, and then we take care of the rest. There's even a 28-day free trial period in there, so you're welcome to give it a go. I won't offer anything to somebody if it doesn't add value, but there's a lot of US veterans and first responders using this with great success. And it's my attempt at permanency. So if someone says, oh, I want to give breathwork a try. Well, I know that if you really want it to work when it's supposed to, it does need to be guided. And so
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to give people a product that I know actually works, and they can use it literally tonight. So
One thing, so I assume you obviously can't be a personal breathwork trainer for everybody, but the one benefit of personal trainers when you have somebody in person is they can like correct your form per se, when, you know, otherwise you probably wouldn't see it. So what's like something with breathwork that maybe some people need to understand, or maybe like a fundamental piece that they could get wrong with it? Or is it literally just as simple as follow the pattern?
well, firstly, you can't do it wrong. A lot of people, when they're breathing, they're thinking, oh, how do I do this right? Well, if you simply just focus on your breath, focus on your inhale and exhale, your body starts changing. Because if you saw somebody and they're doing these ones, okay, they're freaking out because they're so focused out there, they've disconnected from their body. All right. So just like our breath responds to our state, our state responds to our breath. So just simply focusing on, oh, now I'm breathing in. Now I'm breathing out. Now I'm breathing in. Like, could life be so simple? And I put it to people, if you really tried it, you would experience a resounding yes, as an invitation. And it's all invitation. So focusing on your breath to start with, you can't do it wrong. But the limitations for getting a, say, medicinal dose is because breathing is our oldest habit. Okay. However long you've been alive for, that's how long you've been breathing for, and that's the habit we're in. So when I'm working one-on-one with people, I'll show them how to breathe fully in ways that allow them to, like I work a lot with professional athletes, and I think we worked out that, and this is a rugby team, I showed them how to breathe in an extra liter of air. We worked out between half a liter of air and a liter of air, and over a game, that would end up to be between the whole team, 50,000 more liters of air. And if there was 2 minutes to go and you had one team that had 50,000 liters more air as a collective and one team that didn't, you know, who would you put your money on?
No, I like that analogy. I was, again, our fucked up military men thoughts here, but the story you shared when you were in Afghanistan and when you were focusing on the thumb and you were able to turn your 2 cents of energy into like $2 and then over multiply it. To me, that sounds like, imagine if that were the actual, like, think about all the, like we went through like CLS, it's like combat lifesaver, all the medical training that we go through, like in combat stuff. Imagine if that's all it took. Like, you see a buddy of yours that just got his leg blown off from an IED, and that's the trick. Just, buddy, breathe in. You just put your thumb in his chest. It's just, it's like, holy crap, I don't feel it. Tim, you will be a billionaire if you've hit on that gold mine. I'll help you promote it and market it if that's the case, if that's all it takes.
Yeah, it'd be like the ET finger thing, you know?
Yeah.
The glowing finger of ET.
You literally, maybe that's, you know, now my conspiracy brain's working out. Maybe that's how Jesus was like the miracle, you know, giver back in the day, because people are like, how did Jesus like rub mud on someone's forehead and he cured them of their leprosy? It's like, this is what they didn't forget. He's just like, breathe in, son. That's it. We like him though. He's a friend of the show. Jesus, friend of the show. What was yeah, my mind's moving at 1,000,000 miles a minute right now. The Afghanistan. I want to get to the thumbnail. Let me pull it up. So what was the, I mean, you told me a little bit, but what's the context behind the, I don't know if the camera will show it, but I'll probably just put it up.
Just back it off. Oh, that one. Yeah. Okay. So that one is, if you hold it probably by your face, people might be able to see it by your face there. Yeah. You can see a rough idea of it. Nice selfie.
Come on, camera, help me out here. I don't want to walk.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Hold it.
Holding it.
Now we see it clearly. All right. Yeah. So that's me, Afghanistan, 2009. You can see that I couldn't grow a beard to save myself. It's really unfair, actually. They give you 3 months to grow a beard. So when you're,
I think it's a good looking beard. I mean, it's appropriate.
Well, some guys after 3 days they turn into Grizzly Adams. You know,
Yeah.
me after 3 months, I still had bum fluff, but
okay.
they they give you 3 months to grow a beard. And you don't have to shave for those 3 months. And some guys are more blessed with testosterone coming out of their face. But that photo, there I was making coffee. And can you hear snoring in the background at all?
No.
If you can't hear it, I'm great, because I got a brown bear in here and he snores a fair bit. You want to see my brown bear?
Yes.
We
Let
got,
me
we got,
see
we got
what
brown
this
bears in Australia. All right,
what this literal brown bear or what this possible
you'll see
dog
him.
or what if he calls it a brown? What if it's like a koala or a kangaroo or something or some? What's that? Not Cujo. What's the dog from the? I forget the American movie, but that is a big one. What's his name or her name? Huh?
He's got a big head and he snores as loud as I do.
Has he done
He's
your
not on the
breathwork
inside,
yet?
it's raining today, so I brought him in.
Okay. Has he done the breath work in bed to cure the snoring?
Where were we?
You were explaining you were making coffee.
Yeah, so that's an interesting photo, that one. So I'm making coffee, which doesn't seem that dramatic, but do you remember how I said the more energy you have in your system, the more aware and connected you are to others?
Yeah.
And, you know, I thought, well, what can I do for others? I'm just a private. I'm told to do what everyone else does. But I did have a supply of coffee, right?
Okay.
But I also knew I was very aware of the social dynamic in this special forces unit. If you do an active service for another alpha male that's a bit insecure, they see you as below them. They see you as their servant, right? Okay. So I knew if I brought coffee to people, I'd be called the brew bitch. And I'm like, fuck that. I've worked too hard to be here. Someone calls me the brew bitch, they're getting politely knocked out. But again, you know, I was in a situation where everyone was fatigued. The enemy was always present. And I thought, well, who do I want around me when good times turn bad? Do I want fatigued, disconnected men, or do I want connected, rested, empowered men? And with that in mind, I made coffee. I gave it to the guys. I got called the brew bitch. But the good thing about living so close to people all the time, you can actually see what happens when you're away from that space. So I'd drop off the coffee, and beforehand, these guys were arguing, carrying on, you know, turning on each other.
Yeah.
Then the coffee would come, they'd take a sip, and then there'd be this sort of shock look, and then they'd take a rapid second sip, because I'd made really good coffee and I had some really nice syrups to go with it, right?
Yeah.
And you could see these guys, everything would just stop. The arguing would stop. The tension there, but they would look at the horizon, take a deep breath, and then relax for a second. They're not in a war zone of Afghanistan. They're at a coffee place back home in Australia.
Yeah.
And I started to, I learned the difference between, I'd been confusing servanthood with servitude.
Okay.
Servitude, oh, you're better than me, I'm down here. But servanthood is, no, my stand is for you to be the most powerful version of you that you can be. So you can love me, hate me, tell me to fuck off. It doesn't matter. I'm on mission right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why anybody would give you a shit, though. I mean, it's like, you do have a fighter background and you're older than most of them. It's like, want to play that game? We'll play it. But what is the you said you made it into it was like a Red Bull coffee. Did I have the story right? Or like you mixed Red Bull with it?
Okay, well, so in the same trip in Afghanistan, we were running out of water, and because we were deep inside enemy territory, We'd been out for over 2 weeks. In fact, I think we hold the record for being outside the wire in Afghanistan as a special forces unit. We were out for close to 30 days, you know.
Like globally,
Well, at the time they were talking in that language. Things might have changed since then, but this was just a long time outside the wire, regardless of what we compare it to. And we'd run out of water for essentials, right?
Uh-huh.
And they said, Tim, you can't make any more coffee. You gotta tighten up your water use. And I'm like, okay. But I'm looking at this coffee container that I have. It's one of those, they're called like a Turkish cooker, where you've got the water in the bottom, the shot in the middle. You boil the water, it goes through the shot into the kettle on top, right?
Okay.
And I thought, well, all I have to do is get the coffee from there, and it's a liquid thing. It's a liquid. All I need is a liquid to get through there.
Yeah.
And you know, what liquid do you have in a desert when there's not a lot of water around?
Red Bull.
Well, some people say piss.
Oh, yeah, that probably would be. I'm trying to follow the story to its logical conclusion here. It's like,
yeah,
well,
no, you don't
Red
find
Bull
oases
story.
of Red Bull in the middle of the desert.
Yeah. Oh God.
So I wasn't going to piss in this thing, but we did have this supply Red Bull.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is fucking stupid. But maybe this is like $1 million idea, you know?
Yeah.
And actually in Australia right now, it is 11:11, right? And every day at 11:11, I just send a little 11:11 to my son. That's just a little habit I do every day at 11:11. So he knows that Dad's thinking of him at that time. He's 21. I've been doing it for, I don't know, maybe a decade.
Okay.
So
well,
that's
to Tim's son, I can't do it. 11:11.
Yeah.
Want to make it.
I've been doing that for a while. I only found out recently that 11:11 in numerology is Heaven's Gates. If you're into that sort of stuff. Yeah.
I did not know that. I was going to guess it had something to do with
like 2 gates.
Oh, okay. I was gonna guess it had something to do with like Veterans Day or 11/11 for
Remembrance Day.
Yeah, no. Or Remembrance Day, as you guys call it. Yeah.
This was when my boy first got his phone, and he would text, like when it was 12:34, 1, 2, 3, 4 to his mates, and I saw him doing that, right? And then all of a sudden, I just started. It just a habit I'm in. So every day he knows, even as an adult. You know, Dad's thinking of him. I've even been in the dentist chair, and I'm like, stop. And I put the thing in.
I love that.
But getting back to Afghanistan, $1 million idea with Red Bull in the bottom of the coffee shop, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm like, this is so stupid, but, you know, maybe it's one of these $1 billion ideas. So anyway, the boys at this stage are used to me bringing coffee to them, especially when they come out of their, we call them swags or farters. You might call them sleeping bags or racks, you know?
Yeah.
And it all works. It looks like this extra golden sort of black coffee stuff, right? And so I pour it out, and one of the guys from room 10, Vaughnie, he think of like a Labrador that eats everything and cross it with a human. That's him, right? He would just eat anything.
Okay.
And I'm like, perfect, you know? So I brought it over, which was normal. He didn't suspect anything.
Yeah.
And he goes, thanks, Tomo. And he grabs this thing and he sips it, puts it down. And then he goes,
like he twitches, like his.
like it's like he said, Tomo, my brain just misfired. What's in this?
I don't know how to tap rack bang this, but something's there's some screws loose in this one.
his neural electric pathway just went like it was like a shock went through his fucking system. So here I was thinking I just invented a $1 billion product, but turns out I just chemically assaulted my mate before breakfast.
Yeah, what exactly was the I'm curious to know, because Red Bull and coffee, that can be a on the surface it sounds like quite a combination, and I assume it is, but like how were they, like, what was, other than Varney, like what was, like, did they actually get the energy that they needed, or what was, or did they just end up like shitting their brains out, or what was the end result?
They wouldn't take more than one mouthful because they were so used to the good stuff. They'd take one and go, fuck that, Tomo.
It was just too strong.
It was just not coffee. It just wasn't coffee because everyone, their tongue's pretty sensitive. They're big tough dudes, but their tongue's pretty sensitive. And they were used to a very superior, bean and mix. So yeah.
And I guess just given, I mean, plus you guys are in Afghanistan, you've been outside the wire for that long. It's like, I'm pretty sure, the body's tolerance is probably dropping, the more you guys get out there.
Yeah, look, weirdly, those kind of coffee moments mattered more than I realized. Me giving up my ego and doing that servanthood. Like I got marriage proposals given coffee to guys when they're first getting out of their bed and they're completely fucked, and I realized, humans regulate humans.
Yes.
And it only takes one guy. If you can be that one guy where people can just go, fuck, well, I can be myself right now, and this guy's giving me something and not taking something for me, that is super, super. Sorry, that didn't hit that alarm last time. That's like, it set me on the path to understanding how easy it is to, inverted commas, help somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is strange how much like we need each other, especially like there's always this like some of my buddies, like, well, like we're very like adventurous type of travel guys, and they'll always send reels about like these almost like escapist type stuff. Like, why don't we go to Montana or like build cabins out there? It's like, or the masculine urge to go, homestead, somewhere else. But you forget just like how much like you actually need people to, like you said, to function. It's actually funny. I was I don't know who it was, not Grizzly Adams, but there's this like one of the like if there was a survival study that said if you were to crash off a plane, and they listed like a whole bunch of different stuff, and it was like all the essentials you would think of, like food, water, toiletries, and then there was some other stuff that you would think wouldn't be essential, and one of them was a newspaper. And ironically, for the survival study, they recommended that if you were to only pick 3 objects, the newspaper should be the very first one, because it provides mental stimulation. And so that way you don't go, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You don't go crazy in your own head while you're out. And I think there's a similar thing when it comes to just being around other people and humanity. You just need, you need external livelihood to, keep yourself sane.
Yeah, well, what you're talking about there, Cody, is the ability to shift your state. Okay, we all live in one body, but we can be in very different states. And to break it down and, in a neurological sense, there's your amygdala, right? So fight or flight, there's a time and a place for that. You can do it on a sporting field. You can do it in battle, helps you assess things really quickly. And it's fast, but it's kind of dumb. But then there's your prefrontal cortex, your executive function. And they're the guys that normally get picked as the captain of the team because they can be above it, see it, and see how everything works, even though the pressure's on. And once you start dividing up, there's the world I live in where I'm in my amygdala, my fight or flight. Then there's a world where I'm in my prefrontal cortex, and it's healthy to spend time in both. But unfortunately, again, conspiracy theory here, I believe all mainstream media is there to put you into your amygdala, fight or flight. It's fast, it's dumb, it's exhausting. And when you're exhausted, you're not sleeping properly. When you're exhausted, you're eating more food than you need to. You're consuming more stuff. And you start thinking that resources are scarce. So classic amygdala behavior is A, you got no sense of humor. And B, resources are scarce in the way that it's like the world standing around one cake and everyone's arguing about who gets the most and why did they get more and why should I get less, and as opposed to executive function version of Cody who goes, you know what, I can make as many fucking cakes as I want. That's me. And you know what, I'm going to show other people how to make cakes, so they're feeling like they're in abundance.
Yes.
So I don't know how I got onto that, but basically I invite people, and this is what made me successful in the veteran space, because when someone's in their fight or flight and they're feeling alone, isolated, and they're fatigued, you can pour all the resources you want. Millions of dollars of resources get poured into veterans and mental health in general. But if that person's feeling alone, isolated, and fatigued, fuck all gets in, So once I experienced that myself and I could help others break their isolation, all of a sudden it's like the tourniquet came off their intelligence, and they knew exactly where to go next. They didn't need all the resources once they had that executive function happening.
It is amazing because I love that how the analogy you gave, like you can pour all this money into a problem, but if you don't give that person like camaraderie, friendship, or something, something like that, it's like they're just going to go, down the shitter, mentally speaking. But it's similar to your breath work in the sense that, a lot of our problems as humans is just very, very easy to fix. It's very simple to fix. Like think about like you talk a big proponent about how breath work can literally make your sleep like a 100% regenerative, how it can almost transform it overnight. Talk about how humans can maintain their mental stimulation just by having, friends, having family, having a community. And then meanwhile, we're being told that no, it's medication. No, it's because you're clinically depressed or because it's some other thing. It's like, it's really not that difficult to fix half of your problems. Now we can't fix everything. We can't fix, if you're stranded out in Kandahar province, Afghanistan, you don't have water and all you have is Red Bull to make your coffee. But, we can, some things are more simple than what they seem, folks. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, and you're right, Cody, but the thing that makes it complex is the assumption everyone has. It's not an age of information we're in. It's an age of marketing. So the first 6 pages of Google are marketers, right? And I didn't discover that until I was hurting myself, going through my own PTSD post-service. And there was all these people promising but not delivering. And a marketer knows how to speak the words inside your own heart. Oh my gosh, shut up and take my money. That's what I want. But, years will go by, dollars will leave your pocket. You get a taste of the power you want, but you don't actually get it. And people end up blaming themselves. Yeah. So this is why I like conversations like this, Cody, because it's usually through authentic conversations you get in touch with something really powerful, because there's no marketer trying to get a repeat sale, essentially.
Yeah. If you don't have you're not trying to attain anything. So you have it's almost like, like when you go out to parties, like after you're married and you're like, why do I need to, I don't need to impress any other women so I can dress as like how I want. And ironically, you find that women talk to you more. And it's a weird connection, but I connect with you when it comes to just like the authenticity part of it. It's like, I don't need to impress anybody. What do I care for?
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately when you're hurting, you do want Superman to swoop in and say all your problems. And this is what marketers are very clever at doing. And this isn't a small experience for me. I lost 6 years of my life to pharmaceuticals. In Australia, they call them veteran zombies. I did not know that breathwork could do a better job at down regulating my nervous system, that it could be anti-inflammation. It could be all these other things, but you don't hear about this sort of stuff because no one's making money. And once you get connected to the power inside of you, well, guess what? A lot of stuff outside of you becomes very redundant.
Yes.
You don't need to eat so much. You're not reactive. You're a lot easier to be around. Your loved ones want to be around you.
And I hate to be that anti-money guy, but you said it exactly. It's like, you're never going to hear this from politicians, from doctors, from CEOs, because you can't make money off of that.
Well, it is starting to become a little bit more mainstream. So in Australia right now, if a veteran is diagnosed for acute care, then they do have a budget allocated specifically for breath work.
Okay.
Yeah, so that does speak to the fact that it's starting to get out there. And I'm going to say this: I'm not anti-pill. There's a time and a place for everything. Sometimes it's the lesser of two evils. But think of it like a chemical cast. You know, you break a bone, you do need a cast to go on, but eventually it's got to come off.
Yeah.
And when it comes off, you know, there's a whole bunch of muscles that need to be strengthened that weren't strengthened before. But unfortunately, what nobody tells you they're quite quick to prescribe these pills for you, but no one tells you the cost of actually taking them.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of gray space where I was alive, but I wasn't remembering anything. And I'm pretty sure it wiped out a bunch of memories from my past as well. Like one of my good mates, I was at a house and I said, "Oh, mate, this looks familiar." And he goes, "Tim, you helped me move in here." And that scared the shit out of me because I couldn't remember it.
Oh.
And I'm like, how much other stuff had I forgotten? Right. So like I said, I'm not anti-pill, but no one tells you the cost of taking them. And also no one tells you how hard it is to get off these fucking things.
Can I tell you two scary thoughts that just came up within this conversation we've just had?
Send it.
So the first one is if you're starting to lose your memory, and I guess this is appropriate, especially like if you get like old and you're, having dementia or Alzheimer's, but it's like pardon my French, but how fucking scary is it if you genuinely can't remember what you did? Because think about any accusation that might come your way. That sounds scary as hell to me. It's like, how do I trust? I would go so paranoid. Like I can't even trust myself because what if I see a thing of notes of what I'm supposed to do today? It's like, I don't remember at all getting involved in X, Y, Z or I don't know. That just raised my head.
Well, they say the line between dementia and Alzheimer's is you'll go into a room and you'll forget why you go in there, but then the Alzheimer's is you're in the room and you don't know why you're in there at all. Is that
the line for Alzheimer's? That sounds that's actually pretty common. I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't know about you, but I'll go into a room or like I'll like think about stuff I'm supposed to do and then forget about it. Like as soon as I enter in the room, like that. I guess that scenario. I guess we all have Alzheimer's now.
That's
not
one size fits all,
standard.
and it doesn't pay to cook yourself because cortisol and stress will cook your brain, and it can present like Alzheimer's. But I'm very protective of my father. He's getting dementia. I currently care for him. Now, here's the thing: like looking from the outside in, he's a shell of a man that he used to be, but in his world, everything's like a 3-minute cycle. He's just in this 3-minute moment. I'm just in this 3-minute moment, and I'm in this next 3-minute moment. It's like this crazy mindfulness. He can remember things from 30 years ago, but 3 minutes, no. And I'm really glad that he forgot where he put his phone, and now we've had to change it. And we just use one phone between mum and dad, because people that don't have good mental faculty are very susceptible to cybercrime. So click this link, it's someone you care about, send money. I went into dad's office once and he was on the phone with this Indian guy, and dad was downloading stuff on the computer because apparently this Indian guy said it would make his internet faster. And dad's about to do this, right? And I just ripped that shit out the wall, So I know we're not talking about dementia here right now, but I will say this, and this is just my personal experience. I'm not preaching it, but just do your own Googling.
Yeah.
And I feel it. If I find something that works, I feel necessary to share it, especially in this context. So I did a deep dive in neural health, and one of the biggest impacts on dad was becoming socially withdrawn, cranky as fuck, inactive, sedentary. And then we started putting a few drops of this thing called methylene blue into his pear juice in the morning, right?
Why does that sound
Methylene
familiar?
blue. It's been around since the 1600s, 1700s. There's no patent on it. You don't hear about it that much. And like I said, you do have to do your own research, but dad went from all the symptoms I spoke about to being pleasant to be around, to being active in the garden again, taking up bowls, walking the dog, like fucking hell. Like this was
Just a more pleasant human being to
yeah,
interact
because I mean, it felt like it was targeting his brain, because that's what this methylene blue targets, what's called your mitochondria. And most every part of our system, especially our brain, is made up of mitochondria. It's a man-made substance, but and there are certain things you need to be aware of with it. You certainly don't want to be taking it when you've got certain conditions or when you're on certain pharmaceuticals. So a bunch of contraindications. But I'm just saying that right now, if you have anyone, just as a point of research for your own reference that you may or may not have heard before.
Well, I am a very, since I'm an influencer or content creator, I am a guinea pig, and I will do anything for the views. So I'll try it. I mean, but in all serious note, though, I mean, it definitely sounds like it would help a lot of people, at least in this audience space anyway. But my other thought that I had, so you were talking about how Australia, they're doing they're starting to put money aside to help veterans, if they need it to help with breath work per se.
Yeah.
Okay. So I trust that you're a very good human being, Tim, but hear me out here. I'm just saying. We talked about how we live in an age of marketing, and now the government is now incentivizing people for breath work. I'm just saying, we put 2 and 2 together, conveniently sell, breath work in bed to a lot of Australian veterans, prop it up with the government, just saying, I'm just saying, Tim, you don't have to become the market, the evil marketers taking advantage of people with sicknesses. But I'm just saying, a lot of profiteering to be made off. There's a good. Can you imagine, in a year from now, I don't know if you know him being in Australia, but the conspiracy theory guy in America, Alex Jones, he's just doing a hit piece on you and me. It's look, there's evidence to suggest that Tim Thomas has made over $1 billion selling breath work to veterans who've had their legs blown off. I'm not saying he's bad, but I don't know.
He's teaching them this something that solves everything.
Yes. Wait a minute. Australian government's paying for veterans to get breath work. You do breath work. That's a bit of a weird coincidence.
Yeah, we're charging people $29.99 per month to breathe.
Yeah. They gave them CPAPs, but the CPAPs had chemicals inside of it. It was causing people to get killed. It's a vicious cycle, folks. No, I digress though. But I would imagine though, it probably, all jokes aside, it's probably it is probably a great resource to treat and help with their ailments.
Look, the high tech part of this equation isn't the stupid app that I made. It's your own lungs. I'm quite anti-tech. I wouldn't recommend anyone, being on their phone too much. But the goal that I had, I thought, well, people, they eat shit because shit is so quickly available. You know what I mean? It's the speed at which you get shit is so I had to match the speed of how quickly they could get the bad stuff with the speed of the good stuff. So I wanted to make the Uber Eats of breath work, having it, if you had, good food delivered regularly, you would eat good food regularly. So that's why, with the Breathwork in Bed app, it just falls out of your phone exactly when you need it. Because when you're going to sleep, when you're tired, you don't have to remember 6 things. You just want to go, there's a button, press it, press play.
Exactly.
Away you go. And that's kind of, yeah. Look, whether it works or not, it's my attempt at making what I do permanent. I don't want to just be a blah, blah, blah. I want people to have access to something when I'm not there. And in my experience, breath work, to get the medicinal results, does need to be guided. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is a practical way of looking at it, because let's be honest. I mean, it's if you do want to achieve a massive audience, you can't be there for everybody. I mean, you have to, it is a good attempt. I mean, I haven't explored it all that much yet. I mean, I've only had it for a day, but it's pretty good for its intended goal.
We'll have this conversation, and Cody, I'm going to challenge you. 28-day challenge, my man.
All right.
Do you accept the Breathwork in Bed 28-day challenge?
So is it exactly what it is? I just follow the breath work for 28 days, or what is the challenge?
You just tell this thing when you want to sleep, when you want to wake up, and when that notification falls out of your phone, you tap it. And a guy like you, going to bed would be one thing, but sometimes if you wake up at night, it's your best friend. to get you back to sleep. But then getting out of bed in the morning, that can be quite the game changer too, because most people kind of force themselves out of bed. What this one does is no, stay in your bed, use your breath to remove all this stuck energy that you don't even know you're carrying. So when your feet flick over the edge, you're like, holy shit, I never knew I was carrying this stuff, and everyone thinks it's normal. And I can't do what you do, Cody, but if I can improve the quality of your sleep, then you're going to do what you do better. And it's not even about sleep, Cody. Sleep is a soil from which everything grows. You know, you've got seeds of uniqueness, seeds of greatness laying dormant in there, in that soil, that once the energy level and the nutrition level of that soil gets to a certain critical mass, then all these seeds start flourishing. And that's to me is what gives me the greatest joy, seeing somebody flourish with their uniqueness, those unique fruits that no one had ever seen before.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I'm not one to I'm always, unfortunately, one of those people who has to learn by experience the hard way. But I will say the one thing that I've been glad I sort of pick up on is every single person past the age of 30 will always tell you to take care of your body, treat it healthy, and they always regret and usually it's always doing terrible things drinking late at night. They don't really go too advanced with it, but it's just the more that I think about it, it's, you can't really put a price tag on longevity. And I've noticed if you can just master the small stuff, whether it be stretching, exercising on a regular basis, even if you don't have a goal, taking care of your breath work or your sleep, whatever it may be. So I will accept the challenge, Tim. I will, I'll sign the pen and paper, put the name to contract. I will, I owe a challenge from another one of my guests that I had on. I should put it on a social media. I should, do the record and call myself out. So that'll be a good way to hold myself accountable.
Well, like I said, what a lot of people don't understand is the state that we occupy is greatly impacted by 2 golden 5-minute opportunities. This isn't hard. There's just 2 5-minute opportunities every 24 hours. And that's the 5 minutes going to sleep and the 5 minutes waking up. That has a massive impact on our state. And unfortunately, most people poison those 5 minutes. Going to sleep, waking up. So if you can simply have that stupid ass breath work track going, hey, breathe in, Cody, breathe out, and get the experience of your own chemistry, because the app's not doing it for you. It's your own lungs doing it for you. Okay. Correct. You're getting introduced to a part of you that was always there. And now you're medicinalizing it. I just made that up.
I think that's a word, actually. Medicinalizing. I'm going to pull that up.
I didn't want to say weaponizing. I was going to say weaponizing, but no, that's too. Didn't seem. Yeah.
Is medicinalizing a word? Let's see what the. Yes, medicinalizing is a word in British English.
Shit.
Yes. Survey says #1 answer. We got it.
You just made my day.
Do you guys have that do you guys have that in Australia, Family Feud?
We would. I try to avoid TV at all costs.
Okay. But you got the reference? I was hoping that's...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I got it. Yeah. It comes up on my YouTube feed every now and then, Family Feud.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad I haven't been in a good way. I'm glad I haven't been thrown off by any the idioms or the phrases that you guys use yet. I feel culturally caught up. I feel nice.
Well, sometimes just if you're with somebody and the way they say it kind of announces it for you.
Yeah.
Like, you're a fucking drongo, mate.
Yeah. I don't know what that is, but
But it's roll your sleeves up, get ready to fight.
Yeah. You fucking wanker.
Nice one. Yes, now we're best friends.
There we go. All right, we'll throw real fighting words. You want say it again, you Kiwi? Come on, say it.
Yeah, call it Aussie or Kiwi. That's fighting words.
Why do you guys not like to be called because I know Kiwi is what they call New Zealanders, correct?
Yeah. You
guys just are because is it just a friendly, a sibling rivalry beef that you guys just have with New Zealand? Is that just why you don't want to be called that?
All right. So you're which side of the states are you in?
I currently live in New Mexico.
New Mexico. All right. So if you're walking around some other place and someone said, fuck off, Canadian.
Ah, okay. You know,
Not the same.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I had a feeling that's what it is. What crap, why am I blanking on it now? Yeah, I don't remember. Oh yeah, there was one story I had before. I was gonna ask about Afghanistan, but I wanted to hear if this was true. So have you done any patrols or anything like that, or like just training? I assume training exercises in the jungles of Australia.
Yeah, that's part of what we do.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, kind of. There's they
Captain
say
Obvious
there's no
has
such
just
thing
landed
as a
the plane.
stupid
He's
question,
stepping onto the tarmac.
They say there's no such thing as a stupid question until they ask a stupid question. But someone's got to be the guinea pig or the koala bear or whatever I call it. But I was going to ask. I've heard stories that apparently because koala bears, the eucalyptus.
Oh, you're talking about drop bears?
Yeah, that they drop down. Did you ever deal with that when you were patrolling through the jungle?
Yeah, so drop bears, they actually, when you're in certain areas, they issue you with a helmet. And it's an anti-claw proof helmet, because what they do is they'll drop on you and they got big claws and they'll just rip the shit out of your face. Yeah.
What? I didn't hear that part. I just heard that they just fall like a coconut from a tree. Wait, so you have to worry about a koala bear not only falling and just knocking you unconscious, you have to worry about it grabbing physically hold of you and then either trying to like eat your sweat or like steal stuff.
Yeah, look, a mate of mine lost his eye from one, just gouging his face.
So like they're actually like, correct me if I'm not a
claws,
zoologist.
They got like raptor claws. Yeah.
Really? Let me pull up my screen share so the audience can see this along with
Google drop bear. Google drop bear.
I'm Googling it right now. Keep in mind, you're not just educating me here, Tim. This is a mostly American audience, so we're all about to see this here. Where's my window? Yes, I want to screen share it. Come on, what are you talking about, dude? I'm talking to the thing, not you. The trivia answer for tonight, guys. Yeah, this is where the jacket came from. Apparently not a popular movie in Australia, or not a well-received one. All right, what is the name? It's called drop bears?
Google drop bear. Australian drop bear.
Drop bear.
Australian, yeah.
Oh crap, I got it on Bing. I need to Google.
Just go image. Yeah. Drop bear Australian. You see what they look like.
Because I've heard that they fell, but I haven't. Oh my god. Mythical marsupial and contemporary Australian folklore. Right? A large aggressive koala that drops from trees onto unsuspecting bushwhackers and to scare gullible tourists. Okay, so there's a legend of the drop bear, but you guys just call that about regular koalas?
So everyone in Australia right now would be pissing themselves laughing at the joke I've just been running on you for the last 5 minutes.
Guys,
you were like,
I fucking retarded or what? I read that like a fucking retard waiting for the joke. I'm swearing a lot, but I just want people to understand. I just read this. Okay. I read this aloud, not even picking up on the joke that Tim just. Guys, you can fool me with anything. Indian scammers who tried to scam Tim's father, call me up and bleed my wallet dry. Oh my God. I can't believe I'm not even upset at the fact that you shared the story and I didn't think that like, wait, koalas don't have claws. I read that. I read the part where it says mythical folklore doesn't exist and I still asked you, my God, I am stupid. I need sleep. Maybe that's what I need. All right, are we back?
There was so much laughter from down under that it blogged up the internet.
That is true. Yes.
You felt I didn't need much bait to go fishing there.
You did not.
If you kept going, because here's the fun fact about the koala: they actually have a two-headed penis.
Can we hear more about this two-headed penis?
Yeah, you can Google that shit if you want, but it's a true story. They have a two-headed penis because the eggs of the female koala sit sort of apart from each other, and they spray directly at it.
Part of me wants to Google this.
I dare you.
Oh, should I keep it going?
Come on, you're already 6 foot under. Keep digging.
No, let's keep going. Fuck it. Let's see.
Koala double-headed penis.
All right, let's see here. See, these are the moments that we live for, guys. we can talk about all the great endeavors that we've done after leaving the military. We can talk all about why is it giving me problem screen sharing? All right, here we go. Yeah. What I'm saying is look, we're all people, guys. That's what we are. But I've had full-blown colonels. I've had people trying to run for office on this show, but at the end of the day, we're just E3s at our very heart. All right, koala bear, double-headed. I'm afraid there's going to be some bestiality type stuff that pulls up. I'm very scared of that. I think it froze up again, but Tim, we're going to have that. We're going to share this moment with you. I think it's just my screen share. Koala bear. If the FBI cracks in, that's going to be. All right, let's see.
Sorry, Cody, it's raining here in Australia. When that happens, for some reason, our internet goes a bit funny.
Okay, I thought it was my screen share. Maybe I could be wrong. Male koalas have a bifurcated or two-pronged penis, meaning the tip splits into two distinct shafts. Oh, so you weren't lying with this one. Crap, now he's really got me by the hook. So now this is where he rebuilds my trust until eventually he gets me with something else.
Because these drop bears, when they fall out of the tree, they grab onto the back of your head and they start rooting the back of your head, and then the two-headed penis.
They're double fucking me. That's what they're doing. Oh.
But no, that thing about the two-headed penis, that's the real thing. Yeah.
Of all the things that I would have learned today, I've learned about breath work. I've learned about supposedly the koala. I'm already forgetting the name of it. The drop bear. This is the one thing that's going to stick. This is somehow the one thing that my peanut brain's going to happen to remember.
You're going to be out at dinner, and at the worst moment, you're going to say, "Did you know that koalas in Australia?"
It's not going to be on like my podcast. It's going to be at dinners. It's going to be at like first dates. This is going to pop up in my head.
Challenge, because I can see your brain likes this. Challenge for you is to film the next, inappropriate moment where you bring that fun fact up.
Oh my God! And what do they call the IRL streamers where they go out in town and do stuff? I should bring that's the next travel challenge. Oh my God! Fun fact. It's like, oh, true or false. That should be the way to word it.
True or false.
Oh my God. True or false. Do koala bears have a two-headed penis? I would never guess that about a koala. I would never guess that about a koala.
You could have it as like a messed up multiple choice. Like you could have two kind of obvious other ones and then choose the false statement or the true statement.
Ooh.
You could have two other statements that are equally funny, but you could also make a point with, and then koalas having a two-headed penis.
Not a bad idea. It could be like, true or false, koala bears have a 5-pronged penis, and then people are like, obviously that's false. Like, yeah, correct, it's 2-pronged. And they're like, oh. God. You'll never find this on the Steve Irwin family documentaries here, but this is we're learning, folks.
I'll tell you something funny.
Please.
Steve Irwin's best mate, Wes. I knew him through jiu-jitsu. We hung out a bit, and I visited him in hospital when he got bit by a croc.
Really?
And and it was a bigger croc too. And here's the funny thing. When I was I've had a few NDEs, near-death experiences, and on this one particular occasion, it was the classic life flashing before my eyes, right? Like everything, right?
Okay.
And it was a shark attack, but that's not the point. The point was, I'm going through all these images in my head, and I'm like, fuck, I see it all. What do I have about shark attacks to help me, right? And I pull up all the images in my head about sharks, and they didn't help because that's just me remembering how scared I was of sharks, right?
Uh-huh.
But then I'm like, okay, what if I search in this moment as I'm drowning, predatory animals? And up comes Wes. I'm in the hospital room with him, and I'm asking him this question. I said, because he was okay, but he had some big holes in him. And I said, so what was it like when it actually bit you? I wanted to know, right?
Yeah.
And he said, Tim, my whole life, I've been around crocs, and I've always wondered what it would be like to be bitten. And here it was. It was finally happening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thanks, Wes. And then I disappear back in the moment. And then I'm like, here I am. I've been scared my whole life of sharks, and here it actually is happening. It was kind of strangely cathartic. You know, I could relax a bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was, not to steal it off of you, but like, because when I'm picturing a crocodile bite, obviously I'm assuming that like anything that just gets bit is just separated from that immediately. Was that what it was? Like, what exactly?
So he got bit above the buttocks and behind the knee, and he said he felt like his butt cheek was pushed up against his knee. So it bit him like a one here and one behind the knee, and pushed those 2 points together.
Yeah. Oh God, I don't want to imagine that. That's. I mean, I can try to imagine it, but it's. Ugh.
But yeah, he took it like a champ, you know. And Steve raced over and dived on the croc. And if you're ever going to be bit by a croc, you want Steve Irwin around you. So, yeah, Steve
that is the number one all-time draft pick for crocodile wrestling. What was the shark attack like for you though? I mean, did you end up getting bit by that?
Yeah, the shark was on my leg, and it wasn't eating me, it was drowning me. That was what it was going to do first. Ooh. I've never, like, I mean, I've been hit a stack of times, but I've never had my whole body like shaken like this, like,
yeah, just like ragdoll kind of.
Yeah, like just I could feel the brain rattling around the place. This thing was just shaking the shit out of me. And I'm like, fuck this, I'm going down swinging. So I got my knife out, and it's actually really hard to stab underwater because you got all these different things. And I'm managing at a snail's pace. Yeah, and I'm managing to stab this thing as I'm getting tossed around. I'm managing to stab this thing in the eye, and it's not letting go, right? So when someone says, "Oh, I punched the shark and it went away," I'm like, "No, I just didn't want you," right? But I you remember how I said like humans help regulate other humans?
Yeah.
And as I'm being dragged under, I had my mate Jimmy. Now Jimmy was a fellow operator, a fellow commando.
Okay.
You know, and Jimmy was one of those guys, he's a bit of a fucking asshole, but if you're in a tight pinch, that's exactly the guy you want.
Yeah.
Like, down number one pick.
Okay.
The guy that's pretty fucking hard to be around, right? That was Jimmy. And here he was. I could see in his eyes, he's like, he had his spear gun ready to lined up to shoot the shark, you know, off my leg. And I could see in his eyes, he's like, Tim, I've got this and I got fucking you. Mm-hmm. And no shit, the trust that was in that space, I felt this wash of complete calm and relaxation go through every cell of my body. Vroom.
Yeah.
Like almost instantly. And
that's all even while the shark is just like still got you gripped by the leg.
Yeah, I had every reason to be freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, people don't need more stuff in this world. They need more trust. You know, even though I was like at death's door, the trust I felt it just flicked this switch. And I went from my fight or flight, from my amygdala to my prefrontal cortex, my executive function with that trust. And I turned my body and to let Jimmy have a shot, you know, and there's a fair bit of trust in the room. He's shooting something off my leg that's flicking around the place. Anyway, he hits this thing square, but it kind of just pissed the shark off more because spears aren't bullets. They don't go in and shatter. They just poke holes, right?
Yeah.
And sharks are pretty tough. So the only reason I got out of it was because they have this thing called a shark shield device.
Shark
and
shield.
shark shield. It's like an electrode that runs off your leg like a leg rope, and it creates an electrical field. But fucking dumb old Tim here, I didn't have it turned on, and guess where the on switch was?
Where was
inside
it?
the shark, inside the shark's mouth.
Ah.
Right. So of all the places it could have bit me, it bit on where I had the battery for the shark shield. So my leg wasn't getting cut up at all. It was just drowning me. Right.
Okay.
And the on switch was inside its mouth, but it had its mouth over the battery. So it had it sort of jaw open, and there was just a little bit of space in the crack of its mouth. And I'm like, well, fuck it. My whole body's going to be drowned in a second. I might as well. It doesn't matter if I lose a finger, right? So I go inside this shark's mouth, and I'm feeling around to find this fucking on switch. And eventually I find it. I flick it, and then boom, the thing just lets go. And I'm like roaring to the surface. I want to live, you know? Fuck being at peace with death, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, forget this whole thing about trust and calmness and like, I'm getting out of here. I think I'm doing the breath work as soon as I get that boat on and throwing everything off. I'm like, breathe.
Fuck. And I tell you, I have never tasted more sweeter air than coming up from that. Like,
I can't imagine, just like, because there's a lot of things that can bring an exhilarating rush of just like taking the weight off your shoulders. That I can't imagine how it felt once you finally like got to a safe spot just away from that water. Oh,
look, no, Jimmy, like we were like, he just come up, he goes, he fucking does this. He goes, fuck yeah. And he high fives me, right? And he goes, let's go kill this fucking thing.
Wait, so did you want to go kill it, or were you like, no?
That was an edible shark. Yeah, that was a bronzy. It wasn't like a big one, but it was big enough to drown me. It was maybe a bit over 2 meters.
Yeah, what type of shark was it?
Bronzy. A bronze whaler. Bronze whaler.
I gotta pull this up.
Yeah. If you type in, bronze whaler.
All right, yeah. Let me do the screen share. Yeah, it's weird going from that. It's weird going from that shark attack story, and then I pull up the first tab of my thing, and it's koala bear double-headed penis. I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta change that one away.
Scrub my search history.
Yeah, this is my work laptop. I'm definitely gonna have to scrub that one. My Japanese manager is gonna be looking around like, what did they do? What do they do in the United States? That's weird. Bronzy,
bronze whaler or bronze whaler. A bronzy shark. Here you go.
Copper shark. That's what they call it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Man, I can't imagine. Or go ahead.
They're not like great whites or anything, but you don't know how. I didn't know how strong they actually are when they grab hold of you and you're in their environment.
Yeah, because I'm looking at this and it's like, I mean, I would assume this is like a medium level, small level shark. I mean, it's like I can't imagine what like a great white or any other, because like some sharks, I mean, that you'll see like, you know, in documentaries and stuff, massive. I can't imagine what like a huge shark would be able to do. That'd be.
Well, I'll give you a fun fact. Sharks usually don't eat humans. They'll bite them and realize, oh, that's not what I eat. Because a fun misconception is if you bleed in the water, do you think you'll attract a shark, Cody?
If I bleed in the water, yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, they can smell blood from like far away, right?
Yes, but we're land mammals. They only eat marine mammal blood, and they're quite fussy eaters. This is why in the 70s and 80s, when shark fishermen would go out with all this bullock blood, you know, ox blood, they wouldn't attract any sharks because it's only marine mammal blood that they're attracted to. So we're not actually on their dietary list. They can mistake us in, you know, certain conditions for something else. They will often take an investigatory bite where they'll bite and go, no, that's not what I eat. Yeah. And they'll bleed out and die as a result. But we're not on their menu per se.
That does make sense. I mean, I'd be curious to see the science behind like how they can tell the difference between like sea mammals versus like land mammal blood, because that is a pretty, because I mean that's got to be a pretty strong nose to do that. But I suppose it makes sense because it's like, I mean, they are sea creatures, so they have to be developed to eat seafood. Yeah. Well, what was the, oh yeah, one last thing I wanted to get to was because we talked a little bit about Afghanistan. We'll switch to the land. We'll head back on land and desert so you can get away from the sharks. But we didn't really talk that much about like your time in Afghanistan, because when everybody thinks about Afghanistan, they think of the Marines going through Kandahar, they think of, you know, the army going through, they think of the Taliban, but, you know, never heard of an Australian in Afghanistan. Like, what was that whole, you know, if you could sum that up, what was that like?
I'll tell you something about, we call it the sandpit.
Okay.
It is incredibly beautiful. No one told me that. I get over there and it is the most beautiful place you've ever seen. Like the vistas, it's very new soil. The mountains go up and then they go up and then they go up, 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 up. Just when you think they stop, it's like they're shooting out the top of their heads, you know. Incredibly beautiful. And I could see why it was the hippie trails of the, you know, 60s and 70s. But really, you know, you're there to do a job. I don't know why I thought this, but I just knew that if there was going to be a war in my lifetime, I wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to sort of, I've never tried to be tough, but I just said, look, I'm going to observe how I react to this.
Yeah. Do you mind if I backtrack and ask you something with that?
Yeah.
And you don't have to go too much into the weeds on it, because I understand some guests, you know, they try to keep politics out of it, but being like, because I notice a lot of Americans have the same way. It's like, we're not really in it for the wars or for the politics of it. Like, we just want adventure. We want to be able to say that we want to be able to experience combat. We want to see, can we handle it and push ourselves and challenge us? But like, I can see why like Americans, even regardless of that, would still want to go to Afghanistan, because it's like, for us after 9/11, it was like, all right, and I know people can go in conspiracies about it, but at that time it was like, we saw, okay, we know why we're going here. But being in an Australian, you know, did it ever, like, was there almost like this sort of Vietnam feeling of like, what are we doing here? It's like, or should we be fighting this? Or like, was there any weird, you know, psychological tugs at that, or did it really matter to you guys?
Well, I'll break this down into two parts. Look, it's very easy to bash the Yanks and the stuff that they do, right? But I'm very quick to point out that we have a lot of dead US servicemen in Darwin Harbor, which is the place where the Japanese attacked. And those brave US servicemen, they died fighting, shooting their weapons while the ship was going down. They didn't leave their posts, you know? So I always garner my response to these international matters with the fact that it's very easy to point out faults in a nation, but when they've sent their finest and bravest to die in a foreign country for you, then just, you know, check yourself before you start saying things that can be seen out of context and aren't respectful. So in Australia, we had our own sort of 9/11 in what we call the Bali bombings, in what was called the Sari nightclub. So these terrorists in Bali blew up a nightclub full of Australian tourists. And one of my mates was in that as well. So that sort of gave me a bit of extra impetus, thinking, well, these guys don't respect borders or boundaries. If they get organized, they're going to want to expand elsewhere. I don't think you can win this war, but you can keep them destabilized enough for them to stay inside their own borders. And the thing about Australia is I can see that we have this wonderful assumed sense of safety. We don't even know we've got it, because our gun laws in Australia, no one owns guns down here. Very rare to own guns. So, you know, you can get into a scuffle with a guy and no one's going to be pulling a gun or anything like that. And, you know, people leave their windows open, these sorts of things. And I knew that if I've been to countries where they've experienced fear, and you can see it in them. It's like their nervous system responds at the drop of a hat. There's this trauma that's just underneath. It's trying to protect them, but it's also wrecking them. But Australians, we didn't have that. And I thought, well, if fear comes into this country, these guys aren't going to know how to react to it. So we're better off losing a few guys in another country than having the whole population scared that there's a box on the side of the road that could be an IED.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that answers it. It's always interesting trying to get the outside perspective on, because and I haven't started learning this really until like ironically I heard it from another Australian, but it was like being in the United States, like with us being like the #1 country, our sports aren't even international. We always tend to look inward on everything else. Like we don't really see international much of anything when it comes to it, and we always pull the strings, or we're able to hold our own, or like dictate the world a little bit, how we see fit. So I always thought it was interesting just seeing it from like the Australians or the Brits. It's like, well, we're kind of, we were like a secondary player in this. I just didn't know, how it played out. And I guess, to tie it back into what you were doing, it's like, even for us Americans, like we don't even like I was in the Marine infantry. We didn't really care about the geopolitics. We just wanted the adventure of warfare. And then when a lot of us get out, I know some guys who volunteered to go fight in Ukraine with the war that they're in now. Some guys get into contracting, and I don't know. I guess it's just, it's a part of what we do, but at the end of the day, it's secondary. It's not really why we're there. Why we're there as individuals, I should say.
Yeah, and for me, life's far too short to be wasting energy on, the wondering why. The great quote: "It's ours to do or die, not to wonder why." And I'm sure if you speak to different people, they'll give different, answers. But ultimately, I joined because I saw that without enforced boundaries, beautiful things can't grow. Not everyone on this planet has the good intentions you do.
Yeah.
And some people, unless they're physically stopped, they're physically going to keep doing harm to others.
Yeah.
And all the good intentions, all the making them cups of tea and warm soup aren't going to change their point of view. Now, I also, on top of enforcing and restricting violence, I also believe in, building others up, giving them something to lose, have them have their standard of living increased. That sort of space is I think the battlefield before the battlefield actually happens. So if you're in a country where the only way to make money is sell your kid to the Taliban for training, then, well, shit, we got to put food on the table. But you know what? My boy, he's at, school, my girl's at school, I like my, the fact that we've got a surplus income and some money to spare. Then they're not so desperate. It's very dangerous when people feel they have nothing to lose, or they've got nothing to feel that they're worthy. So a lot of these countries that don't have much, they get their sense of self-worth from their spiritual doctrine, which isn't necessarily bad in of itself. But if you have some puppeteers in that place saying, okay, I'm going to manipulate these people into throwing away their lives because of this particular spiritual leaning, then it's hard to stop that, because you might have heard officers talking about, to win this war, we've got to attack the enemy's center of gravity. Center of gravity could be something as simple as sleeping well at night. I'm dyslexic. I see things in patterns. So when I came back to my wonderful Western world, I saw that the center of gravities that we have as humans, Cody, is our sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
And if someone can attack my sense of self-worth, then all of a sudden I can be, oh shit, I didn't know my elbow was ugly. I'll buy that product to make my, and the market is like, yeah, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. You've got ugly elbows, but just give me your money and I'll solve the problem. You won't have to worry about it again. People probably talking funny about you, and you probably wondered why certain people wouldn't hang out with you or you wouldn't get a life partner. Yeah, it was just because of your ugly elbows. We'll fix it for you. Just give us your money, right? So, so this is that sense of self-worth. If that's, say, planted heavily in a spiritual discipline, and the leaders in that place go, well, I think I can pull a few strings here and get these guys to throw their lives away, then, you know, it's a bit of a historical song that repeats, you know, World War I and II, for king and country, for God and king, you know?
Yeah. Over there's, I don't know what our slogan was for the, remember Pearl Harbor, I guess. Well, I don't know. That's a hard justification. I mean, we had our whole Navy basically wiped out. It's like, yeah, we can't really let this one go unpunished, but well, no, but I understand what you're saying though. It's an interesting dynamic when a human being feels like when they've lost their sense of control, I guess you would say, or when they feel like there's nothing in their control anymore. When you said that, you know, when someone has nothing to lose, okay, then they're willing to try anything. It's like with as much I hate to say it, but like in the US, I mean, we've had a string of like assassinations over the past, well, at least attempted ones over the past, like, you know, I think year and a half, because we had like 2 of them with Trump. There was I wouldn't say the one with Charlie Kirk, but like the most recent one, we had the guy who charged into it's like the White House dinner or something that they were doing. And you look at like what the guy was writing about. He's like, I'm 30 years old. I have a college degree, but I'm still working like 2 jobs that I can't get. And you know, in the realm of history, maybe there is some merit to stuff like that, but it's like when human beings, you know, when they get so focused on like what we were talking about, like with politics or something like that. I like how you worded it. It's like I can't keep thinking about that too much, or, you know, the stuff that I forget how you worded it, but I've noticed, especially as I get to my 30s, when you start thinking about like politics too much, you start to realize like I can't control any of this, and I'm just sweating over. You know, it's like, what am I going to do about all this stuff? Like, what am I going to do about what DARPA's doing or what's happening in Iran? Or, you know, it's like, I don't have the mental, I'm going to be like, in 1,000 years, none of this is going to matter. I need to worry about like my family or my own health, or, you know, something that I can affect, you know, with what little resources I got.
Well, I put it to you, the guy that wrote that note and stormed that, you know, attempted assassination, he was focusing so much on the things he couldn't control, and that put him into his fight or flight, his amygdala. Resources are scarce. And I'd wager, I could confidently say, he probably wasn't sleeping very well. So all the worst parts of our brain come online when we don't get enough offline time, get enough downtime. And I'd wager he was feeling alone and isolated. And and there's a great saying about humans: we can be destroyed, but we can never be defeated.
Okay.
So a bit like a gambler, you know, I'm going to win, so I'm going to keep putting money in. It can't beat me. You can't beat me. I refuse to lose. You know, and so admitting defeat, there's a whole personality type that really struggles with that. And this guy, he was possibly in his state of disconnect, was thinking, well, for me to win at this, because I'm not going to be defeated, I'm going to destroy myself in this capacity. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, because if what I'm doing now is like not doing anything, then it's, you know, this might do something. And unfortunately, that was I don't want to cut my thought off too quick, but I was just thinking about this. You brought up the gambler analogy. I don't know if that's the best one to, it's like a human being can't be, human beings can be destroyed, but never defeated. It's like, I don't know if bringing up a gambling habit is the best way. Because if I go to the casino and I've lost everything, it's like, well, I've been destroyed, but I can't be defeated. Credit card.
Well, people go back the next day. People go back the next day. I refuse to think that something can beat me. That's how they get you. You know, but
you're always one slot machine away from winning, folks. That's the lesson that we're.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to I just my devil's advocate brain, that was just what I referred to. But anyway, Afghanistan was going back to that. So, you know, with all the external stuff aside though, like what was just like what for more or less like what were you guys doing in terms of your day to day or like the missions you were tasked with? Because it's not like you guys, I assume, were treated like a conventional force more or less. But since you are SF, what was the the missions or the the events that you were a part of?
So every now and then we would work with American Special Forces, the ODA. You know what, JW, if you're watching this, it was good serving with you.
Shout out JW.
Yeah. And other times we would work off intel, and this intel would often come in fresh, so it would have to be ready to go. So sometimes it was like a planned disruption mission, to go out and disrupt the enemy's, movement. Other times it was like, we got to hit it straight away. Other times it was just simply to off-center some of the propaganda the Taliban was putting out there, because a lot of them, I remember one time the Taliban apparently was saying, the foreign forces are going to take away your opium crops, so you've got to pay us to protect you, right? So we'd go out patrolling through all the opium crops, just showing that, yeah, we're not taking shit,
Okay.
So there was things like that, but then, we'd go to some places, and that photograph that you showed earlier, that was one place, Kajaki, and there'd been no coalition forces in that area for 2 years, which was a long time. So they could, solidify their base, set up all the IDs they wanted. And that was one of the jobs we did with the ODA, and the Yank officer said, when we get down there, it's going to go nuclear.
I don't know what accent that was supposed to be, but that definitely sounded like, yep, that's American.
So yeah, we'd go out in the vehicles, we'd harbor up, then we'd, dismount at the right time, infill at night, hit the target usually at night, take who we needed to, and then, go from there.
Did you just do, I assume it was like one deployment, or was it just like a 6-9 month stint you were out there, or how long were you out there for?
Yeah, a lot of rotations are out there for 12 months, like the mechanics and all that. But because we're kind of high tempo, probably about 5-6 months over there. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Not much else to add to it with that. But what was and you don't have to get into too much if it's like too much to bear. But I mean, was the overall the deployment like very taxing? Like, was it like constant firefighting here or there?
No, like it most,
I guess,
of
in
the
terms
time,
of like the action that you guys saw, I mean, was it like constant warfare, or like was it not much, or just like overall how? I don't want to keep using the word taxing, but I think you know where I'm going with it.
Sure. Well, look. Once you're about a 3 or 4 hour drive outside the wire, it was kind of game on. And always diffusing an IED. There's always explosions going off somewhere. And ambushes are kind of daily. And I learned I was pretty good in the 50 cal. That's
there we
kind
go.
of my rifle. If I was to pick a rifle, 50 cal would be the one.
Machine gunners, pay attention. This guy is one of you.
Well, 50 cal is a good bit of kit. Like up until that point, we'd been firing maybe 7.62 rounds through a sniper rifle. That was the longest hitting one. But just there's something about the 50 cal round that it felt like that, that really comfortable couch that you have at home, and it's just part of you. That's what that thing was like for me. And the sergeant figured that out. So if we were in contact, he would always come up next to me and say, Tomo, put some beat down there. And if it was less than 1.5K away, we were firing APIs, armor pierce incendiaries. Because in a firefight, people are firing in a lot of different directions. There's no clear target indication, right? But my sergeant would come up and say, mark that area. And I could drill enough 50 cals the armor piercing into one area to create like a little bushfire, a little smoke sort of, and then people would reference that and then converge. Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever have any interactions with the? Because I was a mortarman when I was in. So did you have any interactions with like any mortars, 60 millimeter, 81s or 82s? I know those are usually pretty good international, but did you ever have any interactions with them or use them by chance?
Yeah, no, I was part of the mortar detail as well. So.
Okay. What was
yeah.
How did that work for you? How did you guys implement that with you guys?
Well, it was mortars with a one bit of kit we could use to actually really impact the enemy. And we'd just gotten a bunch of Yank ammo. So we had these det bags, around the base that were just old, seemed like Vietnam era, and they weren't that accurate. They wouldn't have that 100% incendiary, element to them. But the new Yank ammo we got, this is in 2009, with those like they look like cheese rounds, like little C's of cheese.
Yeah, the increments.
Yeah. So when we got them, we just got a whole lot more accurate, and we could be really effective, to the point where we were the ones doing most of the impact when contacts were on. Yeah.
Okay. Did you have to get like trained on them, or did you do like any type of training with them when you were in Australia, or was it just more like once you just showed up to where you guys were, like, all right, learn it? Or
yeah, there's always training. It's not just a case of rock up to a weapon system and away you go.
Oh man. I don't think I got any more. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't done a 2-hour one for a minute, so I think I'm kind of spent on my my topics here. But
you're a high energy dude, man. You should be sipping some salty water or what? You got a coffee next to you or something?
Do I have a coffee next to me?
I have
coconut water, and then I have regular water. That's what I have.
Nice.
Yeah, I will admit though, every time I do the Alex Jones impression, my throat gets like really sore and worn out. So I'm not gonna lie, my throat's been kind of like begging me to get some water for the past hour.
Do you want to get a glass of water? And I want to leave you with something. I also want to leave your listeners with something, because I'd be very happy with you guys actually having a technique to give you peace when you need it. That would. Yeah.
Yes. So this is what I do for the ending routine. So make any plugs that you want. So Breathwork in Bed, or any organizations where people can find you on social media, leave all that. And what I always ask is any advice to any service member who's still in the military that you want to leave them with. The floor is yours for that. Obviously, it's a more American-based show, but hopefully more Aussies will start to subscribe to 4 Years a Slave if they're listening already. So, if they're Australian, by all means, leave them with that. But yeah, if you want to leave with any breathwork techniques, do that as well.
Yeah, well, the military gave me a disciplined mind and a bit of hypervigilance. Breath gave me a focus switch and an off switch. So I want to, I can't do what you do, but if I can help you access your breath, you're going to be able to bring your gifts into the world a whole lot more. That's my stand for people these days. So I'd love to show you a little technique that you can use anytime, anywhere. It'll bring regulation to your nervous system and clarity to your mind. It's really simple. So look, and some people listening to this go, yeah, fuck, bring it on, right? Other people we need to make an invitation to. So, the invitation, Cody, is, do you give permission to your own breath to make every single part of your physical body feel really, really good?
I do, yes.
Awesome. All right. Do you give permission to your own breath to make your conscious thinking mind feel really, really good?
Yes.
Great. That was easy. Last one. Cody, do you give permission to your own breath to make your unconscious mind feel really, really good?
Yes, I do.
Fantastic. You have to think about that one. That one's good. So all we're going to do right now, Cody, is breathe in and then breathe in more as we look up. So just start breathing in and then look up and breathe in more. Now hold it and just wriggle your shoulders like you're wriggling in bed. Move your arms, move your shoulders, move your arms, move your shoulders, and then cover your mouth when you feel you can't stop the yawn coming out. Make a big noise. Out. And just rest in that. You okay, big guy?
Yeah, it took me maybe my cardio capacity is not as good as I thought, but it did feel good though. I couldn't hold out like the breath for too long. I got to train up a little bit.
Well, the thing is, you're accessing, when you breathed in and then breathed in more, you accessed your top third. Okay. Now your top third and how much you breathe into that determines your energetic state. Because watch what happens when I'm not breathing into my top third. I hunch over. Okay. And hunching over basically stops the amount of energy that travels through your body. Think of your body, it's an electrical circuit, right? Here's the generator, and you have all these cables going through it. But these cables aren't solid. They're like squishy garden hoses. And if you step on your garden hose, there's less water running through. And so that's how it works with our nerves. And when I work with the British Special Forces, they found that every degree your structure was out, you actually lost between 8 and 12% strength.
Whoa, okay.
Okay. So if you could say maximum carry 100 kilos, if you're 1 degree out, you can only carry 88 to 92 kilos. All right. So this is the circuit. So we're not just getting more energy from the breath. We're getting proper breathing gives you proper alignment. Proper alignment gives you proper muscular power. All right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So I'm giving you a lot of stuff right now, but just picture just consider one proper inhale could increase your strength by 8 to 12%.
Okay.
Not because you're getting stronger, but you're getting more aligned. That you're not blocking your own energy.
Yeah, it's like correcting your posture, basically.
Yeah, and breathing like that usually needs to be coached. So the easy way around this is understanding that 2 fingers and thumbs, when you pinch that helps inflate the top third. All right. So just for fun, blow it out. Just blow it all the way out. Out. And then when your mouth is closed, breathe in through your nose and pinch your fingers together like that. So breathe in. And then when you're at top, pinch, open. And again, gently just massage, gently open on the inside. Feel your chest is like a flower opening up. Feel it like a flower opening up. Big, proud, strong chest, opening. And just let it out with a big sigh.
Do I still have to keep going?
Good stuff. You did that for you. I did not do that for you. You're in a different country. You did that for you. All right. This is you getting in touch with the medicine that's inside your chest. You're going to realize we don't own a set of lungs. It's a medicine cabinet with a lot of different shelves. Okay. Right. And it's only through conversations like this you find out about all the good stuff that's inside of you. The world we currently live in would prefer we buy it from outside of ourselves. Okay. Yeah. Breathwork is a very disruptive technology. So this time, Cody, you're doing really well, by the way. You okay?
I'm doing. I don't know if I look like I'm about to have a stroke. I don't know if that's what gave you the impression, but yeah, I'm doing good.
Okay. There's no pain. There's no discomfort.
No, nothing.
Okay. All right. So this time, Cody, what we're going to do with our mouth closed, we're going to double the speed of the inhale through our nose. So we're really going to try and, and we're going to suck the air over our sinuses. It's like we're trying to suck it through to our brain. Okay. So when I was a fighter, my coach always used to say, before you do a combination, Tim, do a big snort through your nose because that oxygenates your brain straight away. You circumnavigate your lungs. All right. Now, whether that's true or not, it worked in combat. Okay, so what we're going to do now is exactly what we did. We're going to exhale, mouth closed, and snort as fast as we can through our nose. Give it a wriggle and let out a nice big sigh. Wriggle, wriggle, wriggle. Feel that chest opening. Feel that chest opening. Wriggle up any stuck energy. Wriggle it up, wriggle it up, wriggle it up. And then when you're ready, let it out with a nice big sigh. Just let that energy wash through you. That's your sovereign energy. You're doing that for you. Okay. And we gave it permission to nourish our body, our mind, our conscious mind, our unconscious mind.
Like it.
Now, because there's, probably veterans and first responders listening to this, I want to show you how to use that to clear intrusive thoughts. All right.
Yeah.
So this is going to be exactly what we did, but we're going to use it to clear a thought that may be in your head that you don't want's there. But we're going to start light, 1 pound weight. This is a gym you're going into. We're going to lift light. So what we're going to do is we're going to think of something that mildly annoys us. Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to exhale. We're going to blow it out. We're going to hold on the exhale. And once something that's mildly annoying is in your head, and again, lift light. This is a 1 out of 10 weight. And when you think of that thing that's mildly annoying, I want you to snort through your nose like you're trying to blow it out through your sinuses out the back of your head with your snort. And then we're going to wriggle, and wriggle up any stuck energy. So the thing that's annoying you in your head, it's often held in your body as well. So you wriggle it up, wriggle it up. I'll be with you the whole time. And then you cover your mouth and let out a sound. It's usually a loud, and you really try and stop it with your hand coming out so you can push into it. So this one is specifically for people to have sovereignty over their mind, to maintain boundaries and know when it's crossed, how to make them integral again. So I'll be with you the whole time. I'll talk you through it. So have your power buttons ready, but I invite you to blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out, 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 out. And when you're all the way out, hold. When you're all the way out, hold. And then wait for something to go through your mind that's mildly annoying. Once you see it, snort and hit those power buttons. Okay, now wriggle that thing up. It's stuck in your body somewhere. Wriggle it up, wriggle it up, wriggle it up. Push it to the surface, push it to the surface, push it to the surface. Feel it like coming up through your neck, like yawn juice. And when you can't stop it, send out a big yell through your hand, a big yawning yell. Out, 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 out.
I'm getting self-conscious if you're laughing at how I look. But it is working, though. It is working. I did find something that mildly annoyed me, and it's not that bad.
Well, this is what we're, I'm trying to give people right now, because there's the version of us going down the street, something mildly annoys us, and we can discreetly snort, wriggle it out, and let it out and dispel it, right? Because if we don't do that, you'll do what I used to do, and that's like, it's just a handful of gravel in the backpack, and there's another handful of gravel. And then all of a sudden, as time goes on, life becomes really hard. And I used to have to drink half a carton of alcohol before I spoke to my then wife. All right. So if you can be the one that clears this stuff naturally, you're going to be able to connect to others. And I wager you would need less external chemicals, whatever that looks like. In my case, it was alcohol and pills, through that simple self-regulation technique. So I know it's been quite a reasonable episode, but I would be hugely satisfied if people could take away that one thing so they can have that in their back pocket. And if they come across anyone else that needs a bit of self-regulation, that is a really usable tool.
No, and you should feel proud of that, Tim. And look, I'm a very terrible comedian, and look, all jokes aside, it's whatever you're dealing with, whether, you did a 4-year peace pump and you have just some anxiety just from the way you dealt with the military, or whether you were a lifer, whether you did see combat and did see fucked up things, like we talked about earlier, most of the problems that we have, the answers are surprisingly simple. You just have to trust it and just be patient. And breathwork may not be able to solve all of your problems. And I'm only sticking with the breathwork part because that's, what you specialize in, Tim, and that's what we've been talking about. But hey, it is one of the, it's surprisingly simple, but as in any career field, it's the boring things, it's the small things that when you master those, they make you successful. And breath work, you'd be amazed at, if you just learning to control your breath and just pausing for a moment, you'd be amazed at how many problems that you think you have aren't actually there, or they're just blown out of proportion. It's just, you're mentally not in the right space. You just need to, take a breather, pun intended. So with that, Tim, I know that would very well suffice, I guess, as some advice that you would want to leave with the.
I want to give people tools. I don't want to give them I don't want to have it as a talk fest, because when I was hurting, everyone would talk about, regulation and getting a good night's sleep. I'm like, I fucking know that. I know I'm supposed to sleep well. I know I'm supposed to sleep for. Give me something I can use right now. And
yes.
it would never do that. I'm like, if I ever get into a position where I can give back, I want something that they can use straight away. So I'd feel comfortable, if people took that would give them that opportunity where, it might cost 20 cents of energy to do that, but then they'd get $20 back. And then they can start building that in their own way.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah. The only person to give like actual prac app, like something physical, but practical application, like something physical to get. I love that in every stretch. But Tim, because your social media presence, I admit, is a bit weird. You don't have like a traditional. I think you have. I think all your stuff is through like Breathwork in Bed, if I'm not mistaken. But where can people find you if they want to reach out to you, learn more about Breathwork in Bed, or just learn more about you, contact you, anything like that?
Yeah, sure. So professionally, go through LinkedIn, Tim Thomas, Breathwork in Bed. I am across social media as Breathwork in Bed. But for people who just want to get a bloody good night's sleep tonight, open your phone, go on the App Store, Breathwork in Bed, take me up on the 28-day challenge. Cody has as well. And see what life is like when you're going into your unconscious with breath. And then see what life is like waking up in the morning with your breath.
I love that. All right, Tim, I will probably ask you like one or two more things after the show here, but nonetheless, great episode. I haven't done a couple like longer ones, but for my first ever non-American guest, this is the pretty historic episode for the show here. We're breaking boundaries. This will go down in the record book lineage, whatever. I don't know if the show will go down that far, but this is a great episode. I'm glad you reached out, Tim. I don't even know how you found my show, but I'm glad that you did. This turned out pretty good. Well, with that said, I will end the recording. But for that, everybody, take care of yourselves. Take a breather. And with that, like, subscribe, follow Tim. Go download Breathwork in Bed. I have the app. I'll prove it. Like, subscribe.
Film the next time you talk about a koala with a two-headed penis at your next dinner function.
I will. I have to record that in-person stream. So I think I need to be more dedicated to that than I am the actual 28-day challenge. All right. Well, for the guests and the audience, we're out of here. You guys take care of yourselves.